Imagine this. You're standing alone under a black, starless sky. The air is still, no wind, no sound, just the vast silence of the universe pressing down on your mind like a weight you were never meant to carry. Now ask yourself, do you fear what's out there? Or do you fear that out there, there's nothing at all? From the moment humanity opened its eyes to the world, one emotion has shaped our destiny more than any other: fear, and not just any fear, but fear of what we do not, and perhaps cannot, understand. Our ancient ancestors, shivering beneath thunderous skies and strange stars, saw the unknown as divine gods of lightning, gods of wind, gods of death. Everything unpredictable was a god to be feared or worshipped. The Greeks prayed to Olympians. The Egyptians offered to Ra. Fear gave birth to myth, and myth gave shape to the terrifying unknown. But as time passed, myth lost its grip. Man began replacing gods with explanations. Lightning became electricity, disease became biology, eclipses became astronomy. We thought we had tamed the darkness, but we were wrong, because science, though it turned on the lights, revealed something far more unsettling. The light doesn't end the darkness, it only shows how endless it truly is. The more we learned about the cosmos, the more we saw how vast, cold, and utterly indifferent it is to our existence. We aren't special, we aren't chosen. We are ants crawling on a speck of dust, floating through a universe that doesn't know we're here and wouldn't care if we disappeared. But what if someone took that terrifying truth and built a new mythology from it? A mythology not of gods who love or hate us, but of ancient, unknowable forces that sleep beneath oceans and behind stars, of realities so alien that to glimpse them is to go mad? What if the true horror wasn't monsters? What if the true horror was truth itself? This is the world of Howard Phillips Lovecraft, a man whose stories weren't meant to entertain. They were meant to unsettle your very sense of self. Because once you understand the kind of horror he imagined, you'll never look at the stars the same way again. Some writers find inspiration in beauty. Howard Lovecraft found it in fear. But not just any fear. The kind that reaches beyond the grave, beyond time, beyond reason. The fear that gnaws at the edges of human consciousness. The fear of being nothing. Howard Phillips Lovecraft was born in 1890, a sickly, anxious child with a mind far older than his years. When he was just 3, his father was torn from his life, committed to an asylum, muttering incomprehensible things, dying slowly of madness and disease. His mother, broken by grief, clung to him obsessively. She dressed him in black, she called him hideous, she filled his world with shadows, and made sure he never escaped them. But there was one light in that early darkness: his grandfather, Whipple, a man of strange books and darker stories. He gave young Lovecraft his first taste of classical poetry and his first glimpse into the abyss. It was through him that the boy learned to read by age 3 and write poetry by 6. But even this comfort would not last. When his grandfather died, everything collapsed. The grand Victorian home was lost. Poverty crept in like mold between the walls. Lovecraft sank into despair and nearly took his own life. But something stopped him. In that void of meaning, something else was born: a fascination with science, a love of astronomy. The stars, once distant and cold, became symbols not of hope but of cosmic indifference. He looked up at the vastness of space and didn't see God. He saw a void that didn't care whether we lived or died. A universe not built for man, but one where man was a mistake, a moment, a flicker. And so he wrote, not of vampires or werewolves or demons from hell, but of things older than hell, things without names, without mercy, without purpose, not evil, just indifferent, because that, to Lovecraft, was true horror. What if there is no plan, no design, no God watching, just cold, infinite blackness? And worse, what if something is watching, but we're too small to matter? He wrote through illness, through isolation, through heartbreak. After his mother's death in a sanitarium, the same one his father died in, Lovecraft once again considered ending it all, but again he chose the unknown. He chose to keep writing. Marriage didn't save him. New York crushed him. He despised the crowds, the noise, the strange faces. He withdrew deeper into himself, deeper into the pages of dream and nightmare. His stories were rejected by publishers. His name was unknown. He lived in near poverty, and when he died of cancer at the age of 46, it seemed the darkness had finally swallowed him. But it didn't, because in the years after, something strange began to happen. Readers, those who had glimpsed his work in obscure pulp magazines, began to whisper. They spoke of ancient beings, of forbidden books, of alien gods that slept beneath the sea. They spoke of a man who had looked into the abyss and dared to write it down. "I am Providence," Lovecraft once said, and he was right. He wasn't just a writer. He became a prophet of the cosmic unknown. His madness, his visions, his fear, all inked into the mythos he left behind. But what exactly is cosmic horror, and why does it feel more real now than ever before? If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. What if the truth isn't comforting? What if knowledge doesn't free us, but breaks us? We like to believe that the more we know, the safer we become, that understanding the world helps us control it. But Howard Lovecraft saw things differently. In his universe, knowledge isn't power, it's a curse. Most horror stories have monsters you can kill, curses you can lift, heroes you can cheer for. But Lovecraft stripped all of that away. His characters weren't fighters or saviors. They were small, frightened witnesses to something infinitely bigger than themselves. To Lovecraft, horror didn't wear a mask or carry a blade. It floated in space. It slumbered beneath oceans. It whispered through dreams. It didn't care if you were brave or pure or good, because it didn't care at all. This is the foundation of Lovecraft's philosophy, Cosmicism. The belief that the universe is vast, indifferent, and utterly devoid of human meaning. In Lovecraft's eyes, we are not the center of anything. The miserable denizens of a wretched little fly speck on the back door of a microscopic universe. That's how he described us. His stories replaced the gothic castles and vampire fangs of classic horror with something worse, an unknowable universe where humanity is so insignificant it isn't even noticed. Not hated, not punished, just ignored. And when you understand how small you really are, how fragile your place in existence is, the real terror begins. Lovecraft once wrote, "The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far." This wasn't metaphor. He meant it literally. He feared that science would go too far, that one day humanity would uncover something it couldn't unsee. And when that moment came, our minds wouldn't bend, they would shatter. In The Color Out of Space, a meteor crashes to Earth. But it's not a normal rock. It carries with it a color that's never been seen before, not just strange, but impossible. So alien that human eyes can't process it. So unnatural that it slowly drives people mad, poisons the land, and distorts reality. The horror isn't a creature, it's the idea that something can exist that defies everything we know about perception, biology, even logic itself. We call it a color, but it isn't. That's just the best word we have. And that's the essence of cosmic horror. We don't have the words. We don't have the tools. We are trying to understand a storm with a candle. This is why Lovecraft's stories feel so different, so bleak, and yet strangely refreshing, because they tell us a truth we secretly fear, that the universe is not a warm, ordered place. It is chaos, silence, indifference. And while most people fear being hunted by monsters, Lovecraft feared something worse, that there is no monster, that nothing is coming to get us, because we're not even worth noticing. Cosmicism isn't about death, it's about insignificance, about knowing that, in the end, your meaning exists only inside your own head, and the universe doesn't care whether you find it or not. This is why Lovecraft's horror feels so personal. He doesn't just scare you, he dismantles you. But the terror doesn't only come from above. In Lovecraft's world, the abyss isn't just cosmic, it's buried in the earth, hidden in dreams, and sleeping beneath the ocean. Imagine gods who do not love you, do not hate you, do not even see you. They do not want to punish you or save you because you simply do not matter. Welcome to the realm of the Cthulhu mythos, a pantheon of beings so ancient, so vast, that to merely know of their existence invites madness. And worst of all, they're not evil, they're indifferent. Lovecraft didn't set out to create a mythos. The term Cthulhu mythos was coined later by others, yet it fits. Because what he birthed was not just horror, it was a theology of meaninglessness. The name Cthulhu itself is alien, meant to feel unpronounceable, unknowable. But pronunciation doesn't matter, because these entities lie outside of language, outside of comprehension. They are not evil, because evil is a human idea. They are the essence of externality. To achieve the essence of real externality, one must forget that such things as organic life, good and evil, love and hate have any existence at all. These cosmic entities didn't come to destroy us. They don't even know we exist. They are part of a dark and unknowable reality where nothing is impossible, yet nothing is human. The horror isn't that they want to kill you. The horror is that if they did, they wouldn't notice. Let's step into this mythos, not as believers, but as terrified observers. The Elder Things, the first alien colonizers of Earth, over 1 billion years ago. They built cities, created slave creatures called Shoggoths, protoplasmic, shifting nightmares that eventually rebelled. It was a terrible, indescribable thing vaster than any subway train, with myriads of temporary eyes forming and unforming. Their ruins remain, beneath the ice, waiting. The great old ones, ancient, immortal beings who once ruled Earth. They now lie dormant in far corners of the world, not dead, but eternally dreaming. Among them is Cthulhu, the sleeping giant in the sunken city of Riley, beneath the Pacific Ocean. The thing cannot be described. There is no language for such abysms of shrieking and immemorial lunacy. A mountain walked or stumbled. Cthulhu is the dreamer, the priest of madness, the god who is dead yet alive. That is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange eons even death may die. While he slumbers, his thoughts leak into our dreams. All across the earth, secret cults whisper his name. In his house at Riley, dead Cthulhu waits dreaming. The deep ones, hybrid amphibious beings from the oceans, introduced in the shadow over Innsmouth. They worship Cthulhu and Dagon and interbreed with humans, reminding us that the otherworldly isn't far away, it's inside us. The outer gods, beings beyond space, time, thought, and even existence itself. Yog-Sothoth is the key, the gate, and the guardian of all reality. Yog-Sothoth knows the gate. Yog-Sothoth is the gate. Yog-Sothoth is the key and guardian of the gate. Past, present, future, all are one in Yog-Sothoth. He is all time and space simultaneously. Those who seek him desire knowledge, but what they find is madness. Shub-Niggurath, his mate, is a grotesque fertility deity referred to only in riddles and euphemisms. The black goat of the woods with 1,000 young. Her presence is felt but never known. Nyarlathotep, the crawling chaos, is different. He walks among us. He takes human forms, deceives and manipulates, links mortals to the gods. He knows us, and that makes him the most terrifying of all. And finally, Azathoth, the blind idiot god, mindless, unconscious, all-powerful. Everything we know exists only in his dream. If he ever wakes up, all will vanish. These entities exist in realms beyond dimension. The geometry of the dream place was abnormal, non-Euclidean, and loathsomely redolent of spheres and dimensions apart from ours. In Lovecraft's world, a hallway might stretch into infinity, an angle may devour you. He was swallowed up by an angle of masonry which shouldn't have been there, an angle which was acute but behaved as if it were obtuse. Try to imagine a four-dimensional being in our three-dimensional world. To a two-dimensional creature, a human hand would be a shape-shifting, incomprehensible horror. To us, Cthulhu is the same. All the objects, organic and inorganic alike, were totally beyond description or even comprehension. Everything he saw was unspeakably menacing. We cannot understand these beings. We cannot fight them. They can see us, reach us, crush us, while we remain blind. And this is Lovecraft's ultimate vision. We are not alone in the universe, but the things that share it with us do not care if we live or die. They operate beyond morality, reason, even reality. We are ants to them, and yet they are always watching. At any moment, one of these ancient entities could awaken or pass through our world for an instant, and we would be erased, not punished, just deleted. No explanation, no meaning, no escape. I shall never sleep calmly again when I think of the horrors that lurk ceaselessly behind life in time and in space. They wait in the depths, in our dreams, in the folds of space, and they do not hate us. They simply do not care. What if the greatest horror isn't out there? What if it's within you, waiting to be revealed the moment you learn too much? In Lovecraft's universe, ignorance is mercy. We invent gods, tales, and theories, not because they're true, but because we cannot bear the silence of the cosmic void. When faced with the vast, uncaring universe, we rush to fill it with meaning. But Lovecraft's characters do the opposite. They seek truth, and when they find it, they shatter. The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. In story after story, a character, usually a scholar, a scientist, or an occultist, comes across some forbidden book, some ancient sigil, or strange pattern in the stars. The Necronomicon, the dreaded book of the mad Arab Abdul al-Hazred, is the ultimate symbol of this knowledge. It doesn't grant power, it grants horrible clarity. Once you know, you can never unknow. Like a diagnosis of terminal illness, you were always sick, but now you understand. And that understanding destroys you. Lovecraft was obsessed with dreams, not the pretty kind, but the deep, dark ones that take us to unmapped places of the soul. His dream cycle stories, especially the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath, revealed that dreams aren't an escape, they're a gateway, a portal to vast alien landscapes, to forgotten gods and uncanny truths. In Lovecraft's world, the dreamlands aren't metaphor. They are dimensional thresholds where logic dissolves and the unconscious reveals its terrible depth. Here, everyone has their own dreamland, but they all overlap in one vast collective nightmare. In Through the Gates of the Silver Key, protagonist Randolph Carter passes through the ultimate gate and sees every version of himself across space and time. He realizes there is no single me. Every decision births a new Carter, and each Carter is him. His identity disintegrates. He no longer sees himself as a solitary soul, but as a constellation of selves, branching endlessly in every direction. What we call the other is also us. Lovecraft doesn't merely erase your safety, he erases your individuality. And in that loss, some philosophers find something more. French philosopher Gilles Deleuze describes this as the shift from paranoia to schizomadness. Paranoia is the desperate need to stay whole, to cling to identity, to reject the other. Schizomadness is the opposite. It's the acceptance of fragmentation, of multiplicity, of the unconscious within. Carl Jung might call this the individuation process, the painful integration of all parts of the self, including the terrifying ones. The monster, then, is not outside. It is the mirror we refuse to look into. Lovecraft's fiction changed horror forever. He replaced the haunted house with the haunted cosmos. He replaced ghosts with gods who don't care. He turned terror inward until you became the thing you feared most. In The Outsider, a man escapes his dark, rotting solitude, desperate to see the sky. He enters a party, but people flee in horror. He turns, seeking the thing they're running from, and sees a monster staring back. I know always that I am an outsider, a stranger in this century, and among those who are still men. This I have known ever since I stretched out my fingers to the abomination within that great gilded frame, stretched out my fingers and touched a cold and unyielding surface of polished glass. That is Lovecraft's final revelation. We are not the center of the universe. We never were. The more we learn, the more we unravel. And when the veil lifts, the only horror left is ourselves. So ask yourself, would you dare to open that ancient book, to see past the veil of comfortable lies, to embrace the monstrous truth? Because once you do, there is no turning back. And in the reflection of that great gilded frame, you might not recognize what stares back. If this glimpse into the unknown disturbed you, good. Now share it, spread the unease. And if you wish to go deeper, subscribe. The void is just beginning to whisper.